Hi guys, Nigel here with you, Nigel's Modelling Bench, and this is going to be a pretty quick video, and it's just a follow-up to the video I did last week on the review of this kit here, the 1/12th scale Lancia Delta Integrale 16 valve from Italeri. Lovely kit, very nice indeed. Did the review, hadn't really looked at the kit beforehand, so since then I've had a chance to have a look at a couple of things and have a little play with it. And I've had a little play with it, looked a couple of observations, and I just thought I'd let you know about them and tell you what I'm going to do. So first things first, let's talk about the brakes. Now, I started looking at the brakes and I thought they look ever so small, and they are. Looking at specs on the car, they could be like 280 to 212 or 250, or sorry, 312 or 332 or something. I can't remember the exact figures now, but these brakes basically come in at around about the 280 mark, so they're on the smaller end of the scale. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because you can't really see much through the wheels anyway, because they're quite closed wheels. And then on the front, you can see here you've got this brake cooling disc that goes on the front, so you can't see them at all. So not going to worry too much about the size. It would be nice to make them bigger. But one of the other errors they've made, which is a bit of a schoolboy error, if you look here, these are the outer halves. So this is the front and this is the rear. And then you've got the inner halves. Okay, so these glue onto the back of there. And as you can see, they've got these slots cut in them. You can see these tangential slots going around, and they actually work. So if the wheel is going this way, okay, so if this wheel here is going clockwise and this is the front of the car here going along, then those slots would go that way. They actually cut into the disc. They're not trailing, they're leading. Okay, so that's the way they go. Now the trouble is, what they've done, I've actually got a couple made up here, they've made both sides the same. So you can see here, the actual direction that they're going in is the same. So basically, they're going to be wrong on one side. Also, when you glue them together, because you've got these little nubbins on the backs, okay, that go together, they give you your slotted brakes, but they end up like looking really horrible. So I've basically put these together, I've put a plastic disc inside, and what I'm doing is actually going to fill them up and then probably stick them up in the lathe, so they look a lot nicer. And I think while I'm at it, what I'm going to do is actually make a couple of resin copies, and then I'm going to machine the inners out of one pair, machine the outers off of another pair, and then I'll have a pair of inners and a pair of outers, and I can turn them round, and then I can make discs that are the right size, or the right orientation, sorry. There's no real point in going bigger because, as I say, you can't really see them. They are correct for a certain spec. I don't know, they obviously change their brakes for different biases on different rallies or whatever, whether it be tarmac or whatever, I'm guessing. But obviously Italeri have got their references from somewhere, and they look pretty much like road spec Evo 2 discs, even though apparently the Evo 2 had solid rear discs. I can't believe that. But anyway, it's a bit sort of sketchy when you start looking up specs. So there we go. So that's what I've done there. So as I say, the brakes, I mean, if you look in the instructions, it's a right old con, because these are the rears, okay? So this is your both rear struts here. You can see B2 and B1, and you can see they're going on there the correct way. Like I say, the actual line actually cuts into the pad rather than trailing, so it's leading into it. So this here would be correct for the front on the right hand side, so it would be going that way going forward. Okay, so you can see the grooves in there. That would be going that way going forward. Okay, so if we look at the instructions, you can see here 9C and 7C, 9C and 7C. There's two identical sprues. So you've got 9, this is sprue C, and you've got 9 and 7 on both of them. So they're both the same. You can see that is identical to that. But on the instructions, look, they show 7C there, where this is going that way, okay? And they show the 7C there, that's going the other way. So the guy that did the instructions knew what he was doing, but the guy that thought about making the molds didn't, and they thought, oh sod it, we'll just make one discs and hopefully no one will notice. Of course, the other problem we got is the spare wheel doesn't have nuts in it, or bolts, or whatever they are. I think they should be nuts, so we'll probably draw them out and put some studs in there anyway. But they shouldn't have, there should be holes, so you need to drill a 1mm hole in there and then put the cone in. So that's one thing. The other thing, as I mentioned before, the struts, when you come to the front suspension, they would have you put in the struts into the towers here and then put in this horrible great C-clip on there. And if we look in the images in the back of the instructions here, you can actually see what I'm talking about. It looks bloody awful. You can see there, just you see that just in front of my finger there, you've got the tower. Okay, come on camera, focus. And then right in front of you, you've got that horrible bloody sea washer. If you've got the kit, have a look. But it's horrible. I'll show you in the floor pan here. You can see you've got your strut tower there. There's your great big centre nut, okay, which is going to have a ball joint in it, a rolls joint. And then you got that, a plain bearing, should I say. And you got that hole in front of it where the strut goes up through. This, I think, here is the reservoir. The reservoir for the front strut, and that's the strut where it should go. So we're going to fill that hole in and move the strut back into there. Yeah, it looks slightly messed up there. So well done, Italeri. Looks bloody awful. So we're going to sort that out. The other thing I want to look at is the floor. Now, it's covered in ejector pin marks, and I've dealt with them all with Mr. Surfacer. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22. There's about 30 ejector pin marks to be dealt with in here. I've dealt with them all. Some of them are slightly raised, some of them are slightly shallow. So we've got to deal with all them. Also in the boot floor, obviously we don't need to worry about these here because they're going to be covered up by the fuel tank. I don't quite know what that is there, but hey, I don't think there's anything to go in there. We've got some ejector pin marks in there, but the other thing that's horrible is we've got these recesses where you've got the chassis rail moulded underneath. They've just left those great big slots in there, so I'm probably going to fill them in with something or other, because when you look in the boot or the trunk, it's going to look bloody awful, those great big gaps in there. It should be simple enough just to put some card in there, or I don't know, just put something in there. Got lovely strut towers on the back as well, which are very nice. So so that's one thing. On the subject of ejector pin marks, they're everywhere. You can see they're all over this bulkhead. Got rid of them all off of there. We've also got this panel here which goes onto there. That's like a shelf. That's the top of it. So if you're fussy about ejector pin marks, there's those under there to get rid of as well. There's a couple of marks in the floor here to get rid of. So we've dealt with that. There's also ejector pin marks. Remember I talked about this in the review. There's loads of them in the bonnet, and also you got all these sink marks around here. So we'll deal with all that as well. But keen on getting rid of them because it's a lovely. They've gone to the trouble of giving you all the beautiful internal detail on the bonnet or on the hood, and then I think there's 20 there if you want to count them. You can freeze frame. I think it's 20. So yeah, well done. So that's a bit of a problem there. So that's that. What else did I want to talk about? Right, seats. Excuse me. Seats. Bit tacky. I'll try and put a still photograph up now. You will notice that down the side of the slots and also on the backs there's great big ejector pin marks in the back, and one of them is right in the middle up here. Okay, so that's had to be dealt with. There's one here as well, and also down the side because they haven't bothered with slide moulding, they've just normally moulded this. And when I think of it, a shout out to Judy out from Canada. She asked about what slide moulding is when I did the Razor Crest review. When I do the first Razor Crest video, I will tell you all about slide moulding and what it means, the differences about normal moulding and slide moulding, so so you don't have an understanding of what it is. I won't go into it now, but basically when they've moulded this, the seat's like that on the sprue, and the tool comes in, and it's like, there's one half making that bit, there's one half making that bit, and it goes like that. So obviously they can't have holes in the side, because obviously to make a hole you would need a male of the hole, and then as it comes out it would just drag the plastic away. So obviously there's great big slots here down the sides, which I'll put that foot up again, you should be able to see them, and there's slots on the inside there. So as you can see here, I've filled them in with some plastic card and then brushed some Mr. Surfacer over them to make it look a bit more realistic. I've also ordered from Hero Boy, I've ordered some flock for the seats because they've got like a blue the blue finish to them, so I think in 12 scale it'll look nice with a bit of flock on there. This one here I've already sanded down. You can see I've sanded out the tops, the sides to the tops, the sides there on the outside and the sides on the inside to get a nice finish on them. So that's going to look so much better. I may actually make a resin mould of these so that I've got a nice seat for future models, because we're probably going to find that a lot. The other thing is these discs on the centre here, these go in. There's no positive location. I think we need to make sure that when we get it on that we've got the bolts or the nuts or whatever they are showing through, because you can put it sort of anywhere you like really. You can even have it off centre like that. So be very, very careful. There's no real positive location for it. So make sure we get it on in the right place. So that's something worth looking forward to. The wheels fit together beautifully. You can see I've got them pushed together like that. They stay together without any glue. They're really nice fit they are. So there we go. The other thing I've noticed, there's no centre caps. All you've got is the screw in the middle, which for a 12 scale model is a bit sort of 1980s. So that's a bit of a shame. I was wishing they'd put us a centre cap on there and give us a decal to go on it, because there would be a Lancia badge in there. Which leads me on to decals. If there are anybody out there that is a professional manufacturer of decals, there's something this car needs. On the door cards here, you've just got the plain grey plastic. They're telling you to paint it in the light grey colour. Where are the doors? Where is the door assembly? Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Oh, I can't find it. But basically they tell you, there we go. So they're just telling you to paint it in colour A, which is, colour A is, yeah, flat light grey. Now in reality, these door cards have like a pattern on them with very thin lines of like yellow, blue and red. So anybody out there that makes decals, you could make a set of decals for them and they'll look bloody lovely. Just put them on there and then just matte coat them, they'll look great. And also decals for the wheel centres, little tiny Lancia badges, sort of 4 mil diameter, which would be really nice. If anybody's out there that can do it, that'd be great. As I say, it needs to be proper professional decals. I think anything like you get the homemade ones, I think they tend to be a little thick, don't they? And I don't think they'd be any good on the door cards because they'd stick out. But certainly the wheel centres, they need to be really nice and go down really well. So if anybody can do that, I'd be interested to know. Which leads me on to something else. I have to be very careful here because I don't want to accuse anybody of anything. But I started looking, because of these issues, I was looking here, I'm going to use this picture here, and this is basically the same image. I've got the box. It's the same image as you get on the front of the box here. Okay, so that, as you can see, is the same image as that one down there. Alright. Now, if you start looking at this, like I just said, we've got no wheel centres in the kit. I looked at this one and I thought, well, that back wheel, it's got a Lancia wheel centre in it. Okay, and the mud flaps rolled up. We don't have the opportunity in here to roll the mud flaps up and strap them up. I thought, hang on a minute, this front cooling thing here for the brakes, it's different. It's smaller in diameter, and if you look in the centre, it's got 5 like fixings, and this has got nothing in the centre, and the fixings around the outside edge are square, and these on here are round. And then I thought, well, they've got the headlights on. They've got headlights on. And then I noticed that inside here, if you look inside the B pillar, there's like a box section frame in there. So I started looking around, and as I say, I've got to be very careful what I say, but there's a couple of 12th scale die casts out there, and they look very much like this. That's as far as I'm going to go. I can't see anywhere on the box where it says the image on the box may not be what you get in the kit, but it looks like Italeri have taken a picture of somebody else's model and put it on the front of their box. And what we're getting is what's in here, which doesn't have the option to have the mud flaps rolled up. It doesn't have any wheel centre caps. As you can see here, you've just got an open hole. Okay, you can see there as well, there's an open hole. And you also don't have any, if you look there, you haven't got any built up framework around the B-pillar or anything. And you don't have working headlights. So, a bit funny that. Just saying, you know, just saying. Anyway, that closes out that video. Thanks for watching. We'll have a next video I do will probably be on the Razor Crest, and it'll be part 1 of that. And as I say, that's going to be really basic beginners, and we'll talk about some tools and stuff. And as I say, slide moulding, how it's all made and everything, getting the parts washed and all that. So that's what we'll do. So thanks for watching. See you all soon. I'm not starting to build this. I'm just playing with it. I'm just having a bit of fun with it, really. Reason being, one of the things is somebody did comment. You know, at the price of this, I paid $179 for it on Amazon. It's basically, put this here because it's non-reflective. It's basically, I think it's about £230, £240 retail. But basically, you're looking at about £180, £190 you can get it for. Which makes it seem quite reasonable. And then somebody pointed out in the comments when I did my first video that you can get the Tamiya 1/12 scale Porsches. Now I know you've got the 934 and the 935, haven't you? I know they're not up-to-date kits, but they're probably better than this one. There's certainly a lot more multimedia in there with screws and all bits and pieces. You don't get seat belts and stuff with them like you do with these, but you know, they certainly are very nice. There's a lot more in it than you get with this. But yeah, interesting that they're cheap. They're about, you can get them for about £115, I think, on eBay. So yeah, it's kind of put it in perspective, really, doesn't it? But anyway, have a look at your die cast and see what you think. You know, just saying. I just think it looks like a die cast. Maybe you'll agree with me. See you all soon, guys. Bye for now.